This time on Road and Race, we attempt to make my cheap 350Z safe to drive by tackling some of the emergency issues.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Road and Race. In my last episode I bought a cheap Nissan 350Z, and whilst it drove okay, there were a few issues that needed doing with it. Some were just minor annoyances, whilst others were pretty serious. So in this episode I'm going to start with the higher priority items and move on to the less important ones if I get time. So first up, the horribly rusted chassis brace. Here's the W brace we want to remove. As you can see, it's extremely rusty. These two little under tray bits, not only was it a nightmare getting the bolts off and most of them sheared, so much dirt still on my face. Look at that, it's horrible. That was all in here. In an effort to stop all these bolts shearing when I take them off, I'm just going to put some penetrating oil in them now. Give that 10 minutes. Just using a brake bar to get these 13 mils off. Very stiff. So that just leaves 4 14mm bolts to do on this side. We're done. So we got the brace off the car. As you can see, it's horrifically rusty. Look at this. It's probably about to fall apart. So what we've got to do next is get the brand new brace, and with the power of camera magic, here is our brand new shiny one from Ultra Racing. So this is a direct replacement for the original W brace, and I think it looks a little bit more rigid because you've got extra support here. It's more of a triangle, and everyone knows triangles are good. So let's get this on the car. With the W brace out of the way, you can see there's quite a lot of corrosion on this suspension part. Doesn't look like it's a showstopper. I mean, that's probably just old paint coming off, I don't know. I mean, there's no holes in it. It's still fairly solid. Probably worth replacing, but for the short term, I don't think it poses a serious risk or anything. With the new brace fitted and looking lovely, it's time to turn our attention to the next issue, namely the engine belts. These drive the air conditioning and power steering pumps, but more importantly, they also drive the coolant pump and the alternator. So if they snap, you'll find yourself stranded because you'll either run out of electricity or your car will overheat. These belts should be changed every 50,000 miles, and my car has done 74,000 miles. So they're looking in a pretty bad way. Let's get them swapped out. Both drive belts are located just down here. As you can see, it's in a very sorry state, all those cracks in the belt. It really does look like it's going to fail imminently, so let's get it swapped out. To remove the belt, you actually have to remove this under tray here to get access to the pulley tensioner. So let's take that off. Let's hold on a number of screws. Release the tension on the belt. We just need to loosen this nut here and then that one there. Just to make my life a bit easier, I'm going to count the number of turns I make. So that was 5 rotations in total. Now the pulley is loose enough to get the belt off. So we're just going to slip the belt off the top. top, and it comes off quite easily. All we've got to do is repeat this for the other belt. With the belts out, you can see what a sorry state they're in. They're really quite cracked. I mean, I don't think it was long before these were just going to fail. Look how bad that is. These are new belts, as you can see. Great condition. Let's get them on the car. Here's a diagram of how the belts fit back on. So just grab the belt, feed it in through the top, and loop it around the pulleys. Then simply tighten back up the tensioning nut, the same number of revolutions you did before. And then torque the pulley nut to spec. In this case, it's 34 Newton meters. Next up is the gearbox. As you may already know from my last video, selecting gears 1 to 4 was fine, but getting to 5th or 6th was really difficult. Now, initially I thought this could be an expensive new gearbox swap out, which I didn't really want to do. But I did a bit of research and there could be a quick and easy fix. Apparently, when the clutch is changed, if the mechanic doesn't take the gear knob off and adjust a little guide plate, it can make getting into 5th and 6th quite tricky. So let's take it all apart and see if that's the issue.
Loosen the 3 gear gate bolts, then put the car into 6th gear. Now that it's loose, you need to move the plate so that the gear notch touches the bar as shown. Tighten the bottom bolt, then put the car into 5th, and again make sure the notch touches. Then you can tighten the last 2 bolts up and put it all back together.
Well, that's much better. 5th and 6th gear slot in really nicely now. I'm really glad it was such a quick and easy fix. It does beg the question though, why was it even like that in the first place?
So now on to a few quick fixes, starting with the boot struts. Once the 2 old struts are removed, simply screw on the new one, fit the new mount, and pop the end on. Next up, fresh wiper blades, front and back. And finally, it's time to say goodbye to the Cyclops. Next time on Road and Race, I get the Z on the lift to check out how bad the rust on the car is. It turns out to be worse than I thought.